As we go through life, there are oftentimes people who are overlooked, maybe because they are unexceptional. There are others who we look down upon, maybe because some of the things they do are actually objectionable. Today I'd like to tell you a little bit about St. Matthew. He probably fell into that second group. Not probably, he definitely fell into that second group. He was somebody who others objected to. Why? See, St. Matthew was a tax collector. Now, nobody likes paying their taxes, but in those days, a tax collector wasn't just an agent of the government who was doing a difficult job that nobody appreciated. A tax collector was somebody who was working for the Roman Empire. So, a tax collector was seen as being a traitor. A tax collector was seen as being part of the evil empire that was oppressing us all. A tax collector often decided how much of the tax money he would take so he could raise the tax rate on everybody. So they were seen as being dishonest, they were seen as being traitorous, they were often violent men. And Matthew was one of them. But one day, Jesus came along and he said, "Matthew, follow me." And Matthew left his customs post and he followed Jesus. And Jesus went to his house and he had dinner there. And everybody was wondering, why is Jesus eating with a tax collector? Why is Jesus eating with this tax collector's friends, who were also notorious sinners? And Jesus explained, he came to call sinners. He was somebody who wasn't just there to call the good people, the righteous. He was there for those who needed him. And so Jesus was calling Matthew back to the right path. And Matthew listened. Matthew answered the call. Matthew became not just one of Jesus' disciples, but he became one of the 12 apostles. And what I like about the story of St. Matthew, as simple as it is that Matthew was filled with gratitude. Gratitude for the holy man who came along one day and said, "Matthew, follow me." Matthew was filled with gratitude, and that sense of thanksgiving really colored the way he lived his life. It pushed him in a certain direction. As the years went by and he spent time with Jesus, he came to know more and more about him. As the years went by and he sat there around the campfire at night or around the dinner table, he heard what was on Jesus' mind moment after moment, day after day. He saw the way he treated people. He saw the great miracles. He was there for the wonderful sermons. He was there to see Jesus at the most difficult times, like at the crucifixion, but he was also somebody who was there for the resurrection. And so when it came time to go out there and share everything, he was ready. And he spent years in Judea and in Ethiopia talking about the Lord who he loved so much. And when the day came and the apostles started to die themselves, St. Mark got the brilliant idea that maybe we should write these things down. And so he wrote his gospel. And it seems that Matthew took that skeleton that St. Mark had given him and he used it as the basis of his own gospel, the framework of his own gospel. So Matthew, it seems, took the framework of St. Mark and expanded upon it, added stories about the infancy of Jesus, and he came up with a gospel that had a certain point. Matthew wanted to inform the Jewish people. He wanted to let them know that Jesus was the fulfillment of the law and the fulfillment of the prophecy, that he was a new Moses, somebody who was doing God's will, leading the Jewish people into the promised land, and he was the one who had been called for all those hundreds and hundreds of years, the one who was the Messiah, the fulfillment of the great promises of God. When I think about St. Matthew, what impresses me is the fact that he had that sense of gratitude, that sense of thankfulness for the fact that Jesus looked at him and said, come with me, Matthew. And that sense of gratitude changed his life. And what we need to do as we live our lives is try to be a little bit like St. Matthew, Just as he walked with Jesus, we need to walk with Jesus. We need to immerse ourselves in the Scriptures. We need to celebrate the sacraments. We need to have an active life of prayer. We need to think about our relationship with God. And as we come to grow to be more and more in love with the Lord, as we go out there into the world and live our lives, we need to be willing to speak. We need to be willing to talk about what God did for us, how he invited us, how he's blessed us, how he's changed our lives. That's exactly how Matthew spent the rest of his life, and that's exactly what he died for. He was somebody who was so thankful to God, so thankful to the Son of God, that he had to speak, he had to live, and in the end, he had to die for all those things he had heard, all those things he had seen. He was that full of thanks, and we need to be people who are willing to do the same sort of things. We need to live a life that's marked by gratitude and share that joy we have with all those we meet.